Act as though nothing in your life is beyond reach. Let that idea settle deeply within you until it becomes your natural way of being. Ask yourself what would truly change if you stopped believing in limits altogether. If no obstacle, no condition, and no external situation had the power to block what you desire. Everything you experience in your outer world is shaped by what you consistently hold within. When you step into the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, you begin to live from a different level of awareness, one where imagination becomes the creative force behind reality. Imagination is not idle daydreaming. It is the living power that forms your experiences before they appear physically. When you begin to live as if, you allow your inner world to take the lead. You are no longer waiting for signs or proof from outside. Instead, you become the source of that proof through your state of consciousness. Life always responds to the version of you that you assume yourself to be. So rather than waiting for confirmation, you choose to embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled right now. You move through your day with quiet certainty, not hoping things will change, but knowing within that they already have. This is not denial of reality, it is alignment with a deeper creative truth. There is no need to struggle or force anything. The real shift happens internally. When you accept a new identity within yourself, your outer world naturally begins to adjust to match it. You are not pretending or escaping reality. You are selecting a new state of being. Every version of your life already exists in potential, and your awareness is what selects which version becomes active in your experience. The moment you feel something as real within you, you begin the process of external manifestation. Everything begins with assumption. What you repeatedly accept as true about yourself and your life becomes the foundation of your experience. If you see yourself as limited, life will reflect limitation back to you. If you see yourself as capable, supported, loved, and abundant, your reality slowly reorganizes to match that inner position. This is not random. It is how consciousness works. Your subconscious mind accepts your dominant beliefs without question and expresses them through your circumstances, your interactions, and even the opportunities that appear or disappear in your life. Because of this, self-awareness becomes extremely important. When you begin to notice your inner conversations, your habitual thoughts, and the feelings you constantly return to, you gain the ability to change your direction. You are not a victim of circumstances, but the observer and changer of them. The outer world is not the origin of your experience, it is the reflection of it. Once this is understood, you stop trying to fix everything outside and instead focus on shifting within. Living from the end means you no longer define your life by what is currently visible. Instead, you define it by what you have chosen to accept internally as true. If you desire a better life, you do not wait for it to arrive before you feel different. You first become the person who already has it. You think from that state, not toward it. You ask yourself how that version of you would feel, speak, walk, and respond to life, and you begin to embody that now. There is a deep freedom in realizing that nothing in your current situation is permanent. Every condition you experience is simply the result of previous inner assumptions. That means change is always available. The moment you shift your inner state, you begin to shift your future. You are not here to fight life or struggle against circumstances, but to choose a new awareness and allow life to reflect it back to you. This approach requires inner conviction rather than external evidence. If you wait for proof before you believe, you remain stuck in the same cycle. But if you choose to believe first, even without visible support, you step into the creative role of your own life. Over time, what you hold within consistently begins to take shape outside of you. Life mirrors your inner world with perfect accuracy. So the invitation is simple. Withdraw your focus from what you do not want to continue and place your attention fully on the state you wish to experience. Let it feel real within you now, not later, not someday, but in this present moment. As you do this repeatedly, it becomes your dominant reality. You stop chasing life and start creating it from within. In the end, nothing is truly impossible for the one who understands the power of assumption. You are not separate from what you desire. You are simply expressing a state that can be changed at any moment. When you change your inner story, your outer story has no choice but to follow. Your senses are not telling you the truth. They are only showing you the echo of what you once believed. What you see, hear, and experience is always a reflection of past assumptions, not the source of reality itself. The real truth is what you are accepting within yourself right now. When this understanding becomes clear, something powerful shifts inside you. You stop blaming people, circumstances, timing, or luck. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. Instead, you realize that your inner state has always been the starting point of everything you experience. From this awareness, you begin to reclaim control over your inner world. If something in your life feels wrong or unwanted, you no longer sit in helplessness or frustration. You do not just react emotionally. You turn inward and change the assumption. You choose again. And this choice is not a one-time decision. It becomes a way of living. You repeat it constantly until the new belief becomes natural and stable within you. The outer world does not create your experience. It simply reflects who you are being inside. If you want to understand your real beliefs, you only need to observe your life. Your relationships, your finances, your health, and your daily circumstances are all silent reflections of your inner dialogue. Everything you consistently tell yourself in moments of silence becomes the foundation of your external reality. That inner conversation is the seed, and your lived experience is the fruit. When the seed changes, the fruit must also change. Nothing stays the same when the root is transformed. This is not about shallow positivity or repeating empty phrases without feeling. It is about fully embodying a new inner state until it feels real and natural. You are not just saying words, you are living from a different level of awareness. You saturate your mind with the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled. You do not hope for it, you accept it internally as done. Over time, that inner certainty begins to shape your outer world in ways that may feel surprising but are completely natural within this law of consciousness. Imagination plays the central role in this process. It is not a casual mental activity, it is the creative force behind everything that exists. Everything you see in the physical world first existed in imagination or thought. Nothing appears in reality without first being formed in consciousness. This means your imagination is not separate from creation. It is creation itself in its earliest stage. Because of this, imagination is always active, whether you realize it or not. Many people use it unconsciously, imagining worst-case scenarios, replaying fears, or expecting failure. Those inner images eventually shape their experiences, and they call it coincidence or bad luck. But in truth, it is simply imagination working without direction. Once you understand this, you begin to use it consciously instead of accidentally. To live consciously is to deliberately choose what you imagine and feel. You become aware of the inner scenes you entertain and begin to guide them toward the life you want to experience. When you imagine success, love, peace, or abundance with real feeling, you are planting those states into your subconscious mind. And the subconscious does not question or judge, it accepts and expresses whatever is impressed upon it. The key is feeling. It is not enough to repeat affirmations or think positive thoughts without emotion. You must feel the reality of your desire as though it is already happening. That emotional conviction is what gives imagination power. Once the feeling is strong and consistent, it begins to influence your external reality. Events, people, and opportunities begin to align in ways that reflect your inner state. From this perspective, imagination becomes more real than physical evidence, because the physical world is only the result of what has already been formed within. What you see outside is always delayed. It is the shadow of a deeper inner cause. That cause is your consciousness. If you rely only on what your senses show you, you remain trapped in repetition. But when you trust what you imagine and feel, you open the door to change. You do not need permission from the current world to begin living differently inside yourself. You can imagine abundance even in lack, health even in illness, love even in loneliness. By doing so, you are not pretending. You are selecting a new state of being. And when you persist in that state, reality has no choice but to follow. The real creative act is simple. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and remain there mentally and emotionally. Think from the end, not toward it. Ask yourself how you would feel, behave, and think if your desire were already real. Then embody that version of yourself as fully as possible. When this becomes your daily practice, you stop being a passive observer of life and become an active creator. You stop reacting to circumstances and start shaping them from within. You stop waiting for change and begin being the change internally first. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the beginning of every reality you experience. When you understand this deeply, you no longer depend on external validation. You trust your inner vision more than current conditions. You live from the assumption that your desire is already done, and over time, life rearranges itself to match that inner certainty. This is how you step into true creative awareness, by choosing your inner world first and allowing everything else to follow. You are not here to reach something far away or chase a future outcome. You are here to be, and being is where everything begins. Manifestation does not start with action, it starts with identity. When you fully live from the end, you stop worrying about how things will happen or when they will appear. You simply settle into the deep inner knowing that it is already done. From that space of certainty, life begins to reorganize itself in ways you could never plan or predict. People, events, and situations start aligning naturally because your inner state has shifted. Living from the end is not imagination in the sense of pretending, it is embodiment. If you desire love, then you become the version of yourself who is already loved. You feel it in your emotions, you respond from it in your behavior, and you carry that presence in your daily life. If you want success, you step into the mindset and energy of someone who is already successful. You think differently, move differently, and make choices from that fulfilled identity. Your outer world always follows your inner identity, never the other way around. You cannot hold fulfillment in your imagination while constantly focusing on lack in your attention. The moment you shift back into questioning, doubting, or searching for proof, you step out of the state you were trying to occupy. Asking "where is it?" pulls you back into absence. And when you are in absence, that is what the world reflects. The external can only mirror what you are being internally, not what you are hoping for. This is why discipline of mind is so important. You train yourself to remain loyal to the vision even when nothing around you has changed. Instead of reacting to appearances, you return inward and strengthen the feeling of the desired end. You repeat this again and again until it becomes more real to you than your current situation. In doing so, you are not escaping life, you are rewriting it from its root. To identify with a new state means to accept it as your present reality, not a future goal. If you want health, you begin to feel and move like someone who is already well. You allow your imagination to teach your body a new pattern. If you want wealth, you stop thinking as someone who lacks and instead think, feel, and decide as someone who is already financially free. This inner shift naturally begins to reorganize your outer experience over time. This process is not effortful in the traditional sense. It is not about forcing change through struggle. It is about consistency of awareness. Each time doubt appears, you gently return to the end. Each time circumstances contradict your vision, you return to the feeling of it already being done. This steady return is what builds the new reality within you. Living from the end also changes how you act. You no longer operate from fear, desperation, or urgency. Instead, your actions come from confidence and inner stability. You speak differently, carry yourself differently, and make decisions from a place of fullness rather than lack. These changes happen naturally because your identity has shifted. Even your emotional responses begin to transform. Things that once triggered you no longer affect you in the same way because you are no longer rooted in uncertainty. You are grounded in the inner knowing that your desired outcome is already secure. This brings a calm confidence that does not depend on external validation. Gratitude also becomes a natural state, not because everything is visibly perfect, but because you are aligned internally with the fulfilled version of yourself. That feeling of gratitude reinforces the state and keeps your awareness focused on what you have chosen to accept as true within. Over time, this way of living feels more natural. You begin to realize that your inner world is not reacting to reality, it is producing it. Joy, peace, and abundance are no longer things you wait for. They become the state you live from, and the outer world simply reflects them back to you. You are not stuck in one identity. You are not fixed or limited. You are constantly choosing who you are through your thoughts, feelings, and assumptions. The version of you that is confident, fulfilled, and free already exists in potential. It is not far away. It is available now through awareness. The real question is not whether change is possible, but whether you are willing to release the old identity and step fully into the new one. When you do, life has no choice but to adjust. Reality bends not because you force it, but because you finally align with the version of it that already exists within you. Nothing here is about fixing yourself or repairing what feels broken. It is about shifting awareness from one inner state to another. The moment you stop identifying with your limitations, they begin to lose their strength. When you stop reinforcing the version of yourself you no longer want to be, you naturally create space for a new identity to emerge. You are not trying to become someone new. You are accepting the truth that a new version of you already exists within awareness, waiting to be expressed. The self you desire is not something you have to build piece by piece. It is already available for you to step into. It is claimed through identity. When you consistently say, "I am," and attach it to the qualities of your chosen self, you begin activating that version in your experience. Desire alone only creates distance and longing, but assumption creates embodiment. Life does not respond to wishes. It responds to the state you are living from. If you keep repeating, "I'm struggling," that identity stays active because your attention and belief continue feeding it. But when you shift to "I am thriving" and stay loyal to that inner position, the old identity naturally fades away. Not through struggle, but through redirection of awareness. You are always moving through different versions of yourself, whether you realize it or not. Every thought, feeling, and belief is placing you into a state. Once you become conscious of this, you stop drifting unconsciously and start choosing deliberately. You begin to observe yourself in each moment and ask what version of you is active right now and whether it matches the life you want to experience. If it does not, you do not wait for external change. You shift internally immediately. You think, feel, and respond from the new identity instead of the old one. Everything in your external life is simply a reflection of the state you have been occupying. Your relationships, your financial situation, your health, your opportunities, all of it echoes your inner concept of self. If you want a different reflection, you must first change the identity standing in front of the mirror. The mirror does not lead the change, you do. When you shift inwardly into abundance, life eventually reflects abundance back. When you embody love internally, your outer world begins to mirror that love. This is not theory or belief, it is the direct law of consciousness. Your awareness and identification determine your experience. You already contain every possible version of yourself, confident or fearful, abundant or lacking, free or restricted. The question is, which one you choose to activate. True transformation always begins within. It is not about fixing external conditions, but about using imagination to step into a new self. Close your eyes and see the version of you who already has what you desire. Notice how they think, how they speak, how they move through life. Feel their confidence and certainty. That version is not imaginary in the sense of being false. It is simply you without limitation. When you remain faithful to that inner identity, reality begins to reorganize itself. People respond differently. Opportunities appear and situations shift. Not because the world changed first, but because you did. You are no longer aligned with the old pattern, so life stops repeating it back to you. You cannot live in two identities at once. You cannot keep feeding the old beliefs while expecting a new life to appear. At some point, you must release the familiar version of struggle and limitation. It may feel unfamiliar at first to declare a new identity without physical proof, but proof is never the starting point. You are. The mind may resist and replay old stories, but it is only echoing the past. It is not creating your future. You do not argue with it. You simply choose differently. You return to the new assumption again and again until it becomes dominant. Over time, the new identity becomes natural and the old one loses influence. Every time you say "I am," followed by a quality like whole, successful, loved, or abundant, you are shifting your frequency. Repeated consistently, this becomes your dominant state. Eventually, you no longer need to force it. You simply are it, and life responds to that state automatically. You are the operant power in your experience. Nothing changes in your world without first changing in your consciousness. There is no external authority deciding what you can or cannot have. You are not waiting for permission, timing, or circumstances. You are the cause of your experience, not the effect. When you accept this fully, you stop living as a victim of conditions and start living as the creator of them. You realize nothing in your life is fixed. Everything is responsive to your awareness. What you focus on expands. What you accept as true becomes your reality. This is happening constantly, whether you notice it or not. This realization removes excuses, but also removes limitation. If unconscious assumptions created your past, conscious assumptions can create your future. There is no delay in consciousness, only what you choose to embody now. The moment you feel something as true within yourself, you begin shaping the version of reality that must follow. So you stop waiting, you stop reacting, you stop identifying with what used to be. Instead, you assume the new self and live from it. Over time, that inner shift becomes your entire reality, and you recognize the simple truth. You were never waiting for life to change. You were the one who changes it all along. The entire message returns you to one simple but life-altering realization. You are never waiting on life. Life is always waiting on you. Nothing outside of you has ever been the true source of your experience. It has only ever been a reflection of the state you are consistently living from within. Every circumstance, every relationship, every pattern, every outcome has been shaped by the identity you have accepted, often without awareness. And now, with this understanding, you stand at a powerful turning point where you can no longer see yourself as a passive receiver of life, but as the conscious cause of it. You are not here to repair a broken self or struggle to become something you are not. You are here to shift awareness, to step out of one identity and deliberately inhabit another. The moment you withdraw attention from limitation, it begins to dissolve. Not because you fought it, but because you stop feeding it with belief. And in that space, something new naturally emerges. The version of you that has always existed in potential, waiting not to be created, but to be claimed. This is why the phrase, "I am," carries such creative power. Whatever follows it becomes a declaration of identity, and identity becomes experience. If you say, "I am lacking," you are not describing reality, you are defining it. And if you persist in that definition, life will faithfully mirror it back to you through circumstances that match it. But the instant you change the declaration to, "I am abundant, I am loved, I am secure," or "I am successful," you are no longer speaking about imagination. You are shifting into a different state of being, and that state begins to organize your external world accordingly. Desire alone will always keep you reaching, always keep you waiting, because desire without assumption remains incomplete. But assumption closes the gap. Assumption says it is already done, already true, already real within consciousness, and therefore destined to unfold outwardly in time. This is the turning point where you stop chasing and start embodying, where you stop hoping and start being. Life is not responding to your wishes, it is responding to your identity. And identity is not fixed, it is continuously shaped by what you repeatedly think, feel, and accept as true. Every thought is a quiet vote for who you believe yourself to be. Every feeling is a signal of the state you are occupying. Every inner conversation is a script that life will eventually perform on the outside stage. When you realize this, you stop living unconsciously and begin living deliberately. You no longer ask, "When will my life change?" because you understand the real question is, "Who am I being right now?" If the answer does not align with what you want to experience, you do not wait, you shift. You return inward and choose again. Not once, not occasionally, but repeatedly, until the new state becomes the dominant rhythm of your awareness. From this place, everything begins to transform, not through force, but through alignment. You stop reacting to appearances because you recognize they are outdated echoes of old assumptions. You stop measuring truth by what your senses report because you understand the senses only show what has already been created from past states. Instead, you begin trusting the inner vision more than the outer evidence. You begin living from the end rather than toward it. And living from the end means you no longer negotiate with possibility. You accept fulfillment internally before it appears externally. You feel it, think from it, move from it, and let it become the foundation of your entire being. At first, this requires discipline. The mind will resist. Old identities will try to return. Doubt will attempt to anchor you back into familiar limitation. But you do not engage in battle with the old self. You simply withdraw attention from it. You stop feeding it with belief. And slowly it weakens. Not because it was destroyed, but because it was ignored. Meanwhile, the new identity strengthens through repetition, feeling, and conscious embodiment. And as this continues, something profound happens. The inner state becomes more real than the external world. You no longer need evidence to feel secure because security is what you are being. You no longer need validation to feel loved because love is what you are expressing. You no longer need conditions to improve to feel abundant because abundance has become your natural state of awareness. And this is where the real shift occurs, not in what you have, but in what you are. Because when you change what you are, everything that reflects it must eventually change too. People begin to respond differently, not because they changed on their own, but because you are no longer the version of you they once interacted with. Opportunities appear, not because they suddenly arrived, but because you are now aligned with them. Circumstances shift, not as miracles, but as natural responses to a new inner order. Nothing external is independent of this process. Everything is secondary, everything is reflective, everything is responding. So the conclusion of all of this is not that you must try harder, wait longer, or fix more. It is that you must be deliberate, be conscious, be the chooser of your inner state. Decide who you are and remain loyal to that decision regardless of appearances. Because the outer world will always, without exception, organize itself around the version of you you consistently embody. And once you truly accept this, you stop living as someone trying to become something, and you begin living as someone who already is.